everybody? Welcome to the Millionaire Mindset X, where we bring people to the table for multiplied conversations. Here, we do not gatekeep, but we give you access to help you shift your mind from lack to abundance. I am your host, Fire Ash, and if you're ready to take your mindset to the next level, I just want to say, hey, friend, welcome to the table. So, guys, on tonight, I have with me joining this episode a celebrity, a superstar, the awesome, the amazing Dr. Marissa. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Marissa. Let me tell you y'all something. This is an amazing woman. Before I read the bio, she is top tier. If I was to think about some steak that's high quality, that's what she is. So, Dr. Marissa is a strategic business consultant, executive leader, and faith driven entrepreneur who helps women build profitable, sustainable businesses rooted in purpose. With a doctorate in strategic leadership and over a decade of experience advising multi-million and billion-dollar organizations, she currently operates in the corporate consulting space, partnering with executives on organizational strategy, leadership, development, and growth initiatives. What sets her apart is that she doesn't teach businesses. She doesn't just teach businesses, she built one. Dr. Layton spent over 5 years leading her own global business management firm, working hands on with clients across industries to drive real revenue growth and operational transformation. That lived experience showed up in how she coaches, practical, strategic, and grounded in what actually works. Today, she helps corporate women turn their expertise into income through simple, repeatable systems that create consistent revenue. Known for her straightforward approach, she challenges surface level business advice and replaces it with structure, strategy, and execution. Her work sits at the intersection of faith and entrepreneurship, grounded in the belief that God is not separate from business decisions, but central to them. She also serves as a director of strategy and programs for a nonprofit focused on strengthening families and communities through counseling, coaching, and support initiatives. Whether she's advising executives, leading intensive, or teaching women how to build businesses that actually pay them. Dr. Layton is committed to helping people move with clarity, build with intention, and trust God every step of the way. Whoo, Dr. Layton, that was an amazing bio. My tongue got tied at that end. But I am so honored to have you on with me. Like I said, in my opinion, you're such a wonderful woman of God, and I'm grateful that you would even join us on tonight. So I want to ask you my favorite question I ask everybody. Who is Marissa beyond the bio?
Well, she's first and foremost a woman of faith. That is what my parents instilled in me. I'm very family oriented and I'm very big on family values. And that's always number one. My daddy made that very clear.
Yeah.
That is number one. So I'm a woman of faith, a woman of God. I'm a dog mom. I have a Yorkie. I don't have kids yet. I haven't transitioned into that life. It's coming. But I do
Yes.
have a Yorkie. He'll be 10 in November. I'm a
Ooh.
chef. Like, I be chefing. I'm a cook. I know how to cook. Like, it's not just I make, I don't know, spaghetti. Like, no, I be chefing.
Yes.
I'm a secret interior. Well, it's not a secret, but I say my secret talent. A lot of people don't know just
Hmm.
from what they may see is I'm an interior designer. So I went through a phase of managing Airbnbs. I designed all of
Oh,
them
wow.
myself. So I always will pull out my pictures to remind people of my COVID life. And my COVID life
Yeah.
was interior designing and Airbnb management. And other than that, I'm a lover. I'm a good friend. I'm fun. I'm goofy. I love to travel. A huge sports fan, especially college football. Go Bama, roll tide. And yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Number one, there's so many layers. First of all, you told me chef. So I wanted to know what's one of your favorite meals to cook?
So when people ask me this question, what is my favorite meal to cook or what is my most requested item? Because those are two different things.
Both.
So my most requested item is by far my lasagna. Once somebody has had it,
Mm.
that is something that I get asked for a lot. And it is very easy, so I don't mind that one. It's surprising though. My favorite thing to cook is actually one of the most time consuming, but I love to do a country fried steak with a open faced biscuit, homemade gravy, eggs, and hash browns.
I knew I was on to something. See, the Holy Spirit knew to have me say steak. I was on the head, I was on the nail. Steak. She's a well done steak. That was interesting. And then you mentioned that you like sports, and you answered my question. I was gonna say, which sport do you like? You said football, right?
Yes, specifically college football. I love, well, not love, I like NFL. I love college football. Like during college football season, my Saturdays revolve around who plays and when. Like, I don't play.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a fan of college football, and I would say still kind of like the high school, only because I have like younger
Mhm.
cousins to support. But I am a fan of the college. NFL, I'm a football fan too. NFL, I wouldn't say I'm gonna be watching a whole bunch of the NFL games. I'm more
Mhm.
like, I don't know, it's something about that college that's like the perfect middle for me.
Mhm. Think the drive is there more. It hits different.
So yeah, because once you get to that professional level, we kind of already know the basics and they're great. And I feel like in the college area, that's where, like you said, the dedication is there.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, getting into my first question, with knowing that you are a strategist in the business world, I actually want to go back and learn more about where did your journey begin as far as your career? Where did you start?
So actually, my first class, so I started, and I'm laughing because my life just took a pivot about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Mm,
So it's funny to see how God works and how everything is full circle. But I got my master's in organizational leadership because I wanted to get into nonprofit. Like, I wanted to build a nonprofit. God had placed a nonprofit on my heart when I was in high school. I was like, I want to learn how to successfully manage that. I want to work up into starting my own nonprofit. And I'm going to explore that. That's what I'm going to be educated
mm,
in. So I do that. My first class is an intro to consulting class. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then I actually started working in that space hands on. And I'm like, oh, wow, I'm really good at this. So naturally, consulting became my thing. I started as a business analyst, really taking the time to analyze data, kind of like the entry. If you know anything, anyone that knows anything about consulting, you probably hear people always say, customized solutions, customized recommendations. All of that starts with whoever your business analyst is. So basically, started from the bottom. I was that person. Long story short, that was a very short lived journey because as I transitioned into my doctoral program, I found it was very challenging to pursue a career and pursue my education on my own
mm,
terms. I will
yeah.
add the on my own terms part because that is important. And I hit a crossroad with just balancing school and work. And I remember I was literally in the shower, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do. This is becoming unbearable. I can't do this. God literally gave me my consulting firm's name, slogan, logo, everything. Like, it was to the point where I was telling the graphic designer what to do, and I would close my eyes and then open them and say, okay, wait, no, it's supposed to be this. And then,
Oh wow.
like, it was very vivid. So I did that. I did that for about 5 years. 2 years in, I started getting messages on Instagram because one of the things that I did is share my story about how I was building my firm, how I was getting clients, just a little bit about the behind the scenes of my process. And then women that look like me were like, oh my gosh, how did you do that? How
Yeah.
did you get there? And I said, I don't really have anything for them. So I really started having conversations around their needs, realized that was a gap for me. And that was like a door. I feel like that's when I really identified my calling because there were so many women that were Marissa that Marissa was called to help. And I had to go through my
Exactly.
journey. I had to fall in all the pitfalls. I'll put it that way, so that I can help other people avoid them. And then now it's full circle because I transitioned out of consulting. I still do coaching. I'm never going to let that go. I love working with women to help them build. But actually, one of my consulting clients offered me a full time position, and I relocated, changed states, and now I work for them as a vice president of people and culture. So it's funny, when I originally pursued what became consulting, it's because I wanted to work in nonprofit space, and that did not work out for
Yeah.
me. And then 12, 13 years later, here I am, an executive for a very well-known nonprofit in this area. And it's just like, it's crazy to see how God works. So my journey has been one of faith, definitely one of strategy. I'm very intentional about how I
Yeah.
move. But it was all God.
I love how in your bio that you said that God is central. He's in the midst of it. Because something that I learned just by coming onto the business scene or entrepreneur scene was I had to have God first. Like I love in Matthew 6:33 when it says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and all His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." I love that because I learned that following after God and His instruction is very strategic in business.
Mhm,
You know, I love how you even mentioned that when you were in the shower, that God is giving you these downloads and deposits on what the vision is, you know,
mhm.
for the firm that you started. And so yeah, I love the fact that you keep God at the central. And so I want to know, when you have been consulting people, have you found doing doing the consulting as a form of evangelism as well?
Um, yes and no. So I will say,
Okay.
on the consulting side, no. I do
Okay.
separate the marketplace and ministry. On the coaching side, for sure, because I'm primarily
Okay.
working with faith driven women.
Mm.
However, there's an aspect of God that's always in it, because
Yeah.
it literally will be CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, and I will
Yeah.
be having conversations, and they'll be like, "Yeah, because that was just such a great idea, blah blah." And I'm just like, I don't know who told them that. It wasn't me, but that was a real good idea.
I feel
And
that.
then I have had times where I have to go back and watch recordings,
Yeah.
because I will facilitate a leadership meeting, and then a CEO or an executive on the team will reach out and share something that I said or follow up on something. And I'm just like, that's a really good idea. It won't me, but
Yeah.
that's a really good idea. And I have to go back and look, and I realize if and as I'm saying it out loud, it's really crazy. But that's how I know that I was walking in alignment, even though it wasn't
Mm.
what I originally may have envisioned. I knew it was aligned because there is so much that I can't explain. And
Yeah.
even when I'm not being in the ministry aspect of it, even in the marketplace, it's just in me. And I
Yeah.
don't even realize that it's happening. And God will just be speaking through me. Now, I will say, even though I separated, no matter what room I'm walking into, no matter what leadership team or employees or whatever the season may be, I had a lot of clients do RIFs, like reduction in forces. And
Mm.
especially during that, I would just take a minute and I would pray. I would ask God to give me the words to say, provide me with comfort, peace. If I was communicating something difficult for that team, provide them with comfort and peace. And I know it was God, because I've had so many difficult, I mean, everyone knows the marketplace is currently trash, the workforce.
Yeah.
And I've been the person that companies say, okay, we need to cut X. How are we going to do it? And the feedback that I've received just around people sharing, that was the most seamless experience we've ever had. It was
Yeah.
literally
Wow.
because, especially when it was the first time I did it, and
Mm.
hopefully none of those clients are watching, but there would be moments where it was the first time I did something. I didn't know what I was doing.
I feel that. Feel that for myself.
But it still worked, and it became a
Yep.
success story. So that's a long-winded answer of saying it's separated on the consulting side, but it's still just always there. Now on the coaching side, it's always it's yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's different though.
So one of the things that intrigued me about you, especially like in your bio, was learning that you have a specific topic that you talk about. You're praying for more. You're saying you're ready for more, but are you prepared for more? And so I want to know if you could expand on or expound on that. What does that look like? Someone saying they're ready for more, but are they preparing?
So I think a perfect example, I had this recently with a client. A lot of times people's goal is always to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
However, I will have clients tell me they want to make more money and they want more clients while telling me that they're overwhelmed and they don't know how to balance their work and their business.
Mm.
That one plus one don't equal two.
Yeah, come
So,
on.
how are you creating the infrastructure and the system to, when you receive what you're praying for, to be able to not only sustain it, but to thrive in that? So, one
Yeah.
of the things that I tell people is I really consider myself a foundational business builder,
Mm.
because one of the things that I learned the hard way is there's so much that we skip because we're creative, we're excited. We don't
Yes.
build the infrastructure, we don't build the systems, even simple things like your client relationship management system.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll say CRM and people will say, "What's that?"
Yeah.
Email marketing, all of those
Yeah.
things should be automated where someone reaches out to you, it's just a response. But we get so excited about the clients and the marketing that we don't even make sure we can handle the value when we get leads. So those are some of the things that I'm referring to when I say, and that's on the business side. There's a mindset side of it as well, but on the business
Yeah.
side, that's what I mean.
Well, since you already went there and this is all about mindset, let's dive into that mindset too.
So I'll start with me because this is something that I worked on in the last couple of years with therapy.
Mm.
I am someone, I went through a lot, like I'm sure a lot of people have. I went through a lot growing up and I didn't realize it until I got older. Normally, and I remember reading the Budgetnista, her book, and she had talked
Mm.
about normally when people get older and they get money, one or two things happen. They're either a spender or they're a saver. And there's no right or wrong. It's
Yeah.
just you need to be aware of which one you are, and then
Very
you
good.
need to, because it's okay to be the spender and reward yourself. It's okay to be the saver. But if you're like me and you're the saver, a lot of times what happens is you hold on to your money, you
Yeah.
don't invest, you don't reward yourself, you don't do any of those things. And that's what I struggle with. So it
Yeah.
was like, how can I say that I want to build a business? I want to be successful when I may be bringing things in, but I'm not investing. I'm not
Yeah.
investing in hiring a virtual assistant. I'm not investing in marketing and coaching.
Yeah.
CRMs, those
Yeah.
things cost. Emails, those things cost. So it's like, how can I say that I want more when mentally I haven't prepared my mindset for more? So
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that I think are in similar boats as me. And then there are the people on the other side that are not managing money well because they're getting it and they're the spend, spend, spend. Both of those mindsets have to
Yeah.
take the time to really grow and mature so that they can set their business up for success.
I think the biggest thing that you said that really speaks to me is you have to be aware. I like that you even said, like, it's not a bad thing to be either one, but you have to be aware, because something that I've learned and I'm still learning in my journey is that being aware of your habits and your patterns, they tell a story, and it literally equates to where you are. So if your account isn't where you want it to be, you have to look at the story that's being told before you. And if I'm
Hmm.
honest, and I'll put myself out there, last year we wasn't telling the story that I wanted to read, I wasn't telling the story I wanted to read. And so the Holy Spirit had me read this book. It was called Secrets to a Millionaire Mind.
Hmm.
And when I
I
was
love
reading
that.
it opened my mind up. Something I realized in my mindset is that I had a scarcity mindset, and
Hmm.
by having that, it limited my belief in God. I'm out here professing like, yeah, y'all, I believe in God, but I'm not realizing that I'm limiting God to I'm giving him a cap. I'm giving him
Mhm.
a limit on what I believe he can do. I'm minimizing the visions that he's giving me because I'm only seeing from this small lens. And because I
Mhm.
had that scarcity mindset, it was literally hindering me in my walk. So when I read
Mhm.
this book, God told me I used to have the book in one hand, I had the
Mhm.
Bible right next to it. And when I would read it, God would lead me to read scriptures that literally
Mhm.
align with what the guy was saying. And I was
Mhm.
like, this is interesting.
Mhm.
And it made me realize how much I didn't know about my own identity as a child of God. And
Mhm.
that's why I like to talk a lot about inheritance, because I believe that there's so many things that we're lacking in knowledge in the world. But if we come back to the original truth, for instance,
Mhm.
stewardship,
Mhm.
that's where God got me together last year. He said, "You're a bad steward." And I was like,
Mhm.
mind, mind your business. Keep talking. You're right. Just learning that I'm a spender. I like spending money. I do. I'm so good at it. I can do it all day, any day. I can easily come up with stuff to spend money on. But becoming a business owner made me realize that being a spender is not my best bet. I had to become a planner for the spending. And then when everything is allocated to its thing, that's
Mhm.
it. And
Yeah.
it's my testimony. It hurt, but that's my testimony. But going back to what you were saying, I just love that you said like that awareness, like being
Mhm.
aware. And I love how you mentioned like being able to invest in certain things, because a business does have to function. It has to, it has to operate. And if
Mhm.
you're not willing to invest in certain things, I believe that you're only going to get to a certain level. So that leads me to my next question.
Mhm.
I want to know, what advice would you give to the person that is scared to make the investments? M- Yep.
I'm gonna tell you what I ask all my clients. If you only made what you invested, would you be happy with what you received? For me, I would love
Mm-hmm.
if I was capped at what I've invested to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh baby, I would be a spender. I would be real happy. If you can't confidently say that, then you need to reevaluate your investments. And it's so
Mm-hmm.
funny to watch people's eyes when they be like, because a lot of people don't. But if you
Yes.
realize that is a key to your success, especially if it's something that you don't know or you don't have the skill set or the capability, you
Yeah.
have to make the investment. And you're
Right.
always going to put yourself at a cap until you make the investment, whether that be a tool, a software, a system, a person, like
Right.
whatever it is, you're gonna have to do that if you want to grow.
I agree. Especially in the coaching area. Again, God has just been teaching me so many lessons in the last 2 years. Ever since I quit my job, I just been learning a lot of lessons. And one lesson that he taught me was the power of investment. And
Mhm,
the biggest thing that I've gotten from investing is time saving. I've
mhm,
learned that, especially in coaching, I used to wonder like, why are people hiring coaches?
mhm,
Why are people hiring different people to do different services or different jobs? The
mhm,
mindset that I had was, oh, I can do it all. I don't I don't I don't I don't need to hire somebody to do this. I don't have the money to hire them to do this.
mhm.
Right? This is what I used to think. Like I don't necessarily need that. I'll figure it out myself. And then I tried to figure it out myself, and I said, "This is not a business. This is a one-man show. And if something happened to you, you're going downhill because you got to do it all."
Mhm,
And so God had who delivered me. And last year, He started setting me up for being able to hire some virtual assistants,
mhm.
and even that came with responsibility as well, because I realized when you lead people, you got to be a good leader in order for you to lead them properly.
Mhm.
But that's neither here nor there, y'all. That's just my own little tidbit of my lessons. Um, but anyway, I just realized that there have been so many things that I just didn't know about, especially in the business
Mhm.
realm. And as I'm walking, I still call myself like a newcomer. As I'm walking and I'm learning, I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
whoa, I was out here being childish, huh?
Well,
Like
it's not
owning a business to
childish.
grow up.
We all have, everything is a journey. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I've learned, I mean, I still have a lot of growth, but we go through seasons, and
Right.
I'm through certain seasons, and
Hmm.
I'm realizing I had to go through those seasons for a reason. And it may be something for me personally, it may be something I don't benefit from, but it benefits someone else. Like,
That's good.
to this day, I understand there are like certain things, even in childhood, that now I randomly I have aha moments like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that's why. And business is one of them. Like every
Yes.
time I get on a call and it's instant, like I'm like, that's why I had to go through that because I just
That's
saved her
good.
3 years.
Right.
But if I didn't go through what I went through, she would have had to go through what I went through.
And that's, it's funny. That's the point I was trying to make it to. And somewhere my brain got sidetracked in that one little side note. But what you just said, I
Hmm.
I had to learn that hiring people can save you time because they're literally going through getting the nuggets, the wisdom, the revelation, the knowledge, all of that. And what I most often love is that they're packaging it in a
Hmm.
way that helps you be able to accelerate.
Hmm.
you know, for coaches, my coach specifically, I hired a coach earlier in the year.
Hmm.
And God, I was waiting. I was like, I'm not hiring somebody just to say, oh, I have a coach. I want
Hmm.
a God given coach. And so this
Hmm.
lady so happened, I was trying to reach out to her for website design,
Hmm.
and then we had a meeting. It turned into her. I was like, oh, God's telling me to ask you about coaching. And so we had some sessions, and some of the things that God had given me vision to build,
Hmm.
she already had the systems, templates, and everything. And I was like, here, have my money. You want a little bit more? You can have it, because you're saving me so much time
Mhm.
that I would have to try to spend learning all this stuff, and you already got it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Investment.
Okay. So I want to know from your perspective,
Mhm.
because I know that you've helped so many different businesses. What do you think hinders people or businesses from
Mhm.
actually being a profitable business? Actually,
Mhm.
before you answer that, can you explain for those who may not know, what does it mean to be a profitable, sustainable business?
So first and foremost, naturally people only look at revenue. And the
Right,
reason is because a lot of times that's what they see coming in.
right,
Um, the number of clients. So now I primarily focus on service-based businesses, but when I first started, I would have product-based.
mm,
Um, and the number of clients that had never even taken the time to make sure that what they were spending to make the product
yes,
left them something that they're making off of the product was
right,
just so absurd to me. I had some clients, I had a lot of clients that make beauty based products. Some of
mm-hmm,
them said, oh, wow, when I calculated it, I just realized it's costing me $5. So,
yeah,
literally, you either need to cut what it's taking for you to make it, or you need
yes,
to raise your prices. And
yes,
people don't look at stuff like that. And the
yes,
service providers, it's the same thing.
yep,
Your time, what is that price on your time? You mentioned virtual assistants, that's a cost. So when you really take your expenses and you look at, if y'all have never done a profit and loss statement, so technically going back to investment,
come on,
your invoicing and accounting system will pull this report for you if you are investing in an invoicing and accounting system. So technically, this should not be something you have to manually or go to ChatGPT or Claude or
okay,
whoever. There should literally be a system. The system
yes.
that sends your automated invoices to people is the same system that will run your P&L. But that P&L tells you based on what you're bringing in, what are you making? And
Yes.
that's what a profitable business is. Now, I do want to be clear. Sometimes people strategically go in the red
Mm-hmm.
for investment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's what you and your coach got going on, that's fine. I've had some people that do that. I will say the only people that we have worked through that, either they had a hubby that was doing really good,
Uh-huh.
or they had a six-figure career. I work with a lot of a lot of the women that I work with are normally career women, so they'll have their career and they'll be building their business, and they again will be making strategic investments, which means they
Yes.
may be at a profit loss, but it's because we anticipate in 3 to 6 months there being
Yeah.
something that accelerates their business growth. That's
Yeah.
strategic. But profitable businesses is really just you, first and foremost, knowing your numbers.
Exactly.
Because so many people don't know their numbers. And then, secondly, making sure you understand the difference between your revenue and your
Come on.
profit,
Come on.
because they are not the same
The same
thing.
thing. Come on. This is once again on this podcast I love just exposing myself, no one else, because when I started I had no idea what I was doing. And the funny thing is I was out here like, yeah, God is, God is building my business, and because I was generating, a decent amount of income, and it was starting to increase. I was like, yeah, we doing the dang thing, and then God will have me like read different books, really just to educate myself on stuff. And so I had invested in some financial books, and I was like, whoo, we missing it. We don't even know if we out here actually making money. We spending it, we getting it, but are we making money at the bottom?
Mhm,
And something that God has shown me on my walk is that he will give you the information, but what do
mhm,
you do once you receive it?
mhm,
Because there was times last year where he was giving me downloads, right?
mhm,
And unfortunately I was not moving swiftly with the information. I was
mhm,
thinking, oh, I don't feel like doing that administrative stuff, so I'll get to that when I get to it. And then God started showing me like, no, that's number one. Tracking is very important.
mhm,
Tracking it, to me, I think that is the smartest thing that we can do in all areas of our lives. Just like if I'm trying to lose weight, tracking. If I'm
mhm,
trying to run a business, tracking. If I'm
mhm,
trying to build my savings, tracking my spending. I think that tracking is underutilized because it's
mhm,
boring. If I'm being honest, I don't know about you, Dr. Marissa. It's boring to me, tracking. It's a discipline that I'm building, but it's boring. But I think that tracking can be essential because once again, every day we're living our story out. But I
mhm,
think that sometimes we live in this place of like the unknown instead of
mhm,
knowing. What are
mhm.
your thoughts on
So I will say I actually enjoy tracking. I think it's because
that?
I'm like a calendar chart person.
Yeah.
And I think the consultant in me, and then I have event planning experiences on the nonprofit side. So
Hmm.
I think naturally that requires me to be a good project manager.
Yes.
So honestly, I love it. Now, I will say I know clients don't. So I do create, like I have a lot of tracking spreadsheets and
Yeah.
templates that I create for my clients to make it more fun, quote
Yeah.
unquote. One is a non-negotiable. And then two, I really think it goes beyond the things that we commonly think of. So like
Hmm.
finances. A
Yeah.
lot of my clients, when they start off, I actually have them do a marketing test. And what it is tracking their marketing to identify what's leading to
Yes.
traffic, what's
That's good.
leading to conversion,
That's
what
good.
pain points resonated most with people. And it gives
That's
them
good.
clear instructions on not only how to track it, but how to intentionally do their posts. So
Yeah.
they're doing different things throughout the week so that they can accurately track the information. And it's like we overlook stuff like that.
Right.
And there are so many things that you can track from a business perspective
Hmm.
that go beyond finances that really give you the information. At the end of the day, you can't measure like what you want to improve, you have to measure. So if you
Exactly.
want to improve something, you have to measure it. And you can't measure something if you have no baseline. You
That's
definitely
good.
can't set a goal for something if you have no baseline.
Right.
You have to measure that.
Yep.
So, and I will say the only other thing I do want to add on this,
Hmm.
if you're going to measure it, make sure you also identify how you're going to get to the goal that you're measuring.
Come on.
Because a lot of times people will say, oh, I want to make, I'm going to just say this because it's easier for my brain to work in this way. I want to make 10K this month. Okay,
Right.
awesome. How many clients is that?
Right.
Based on how many clients, how many people has to submit an application or reach
Yeah.
out to you in DM or do a sales call. And then people, their eyes get big. They're like, oh, I just want to make 10K.
Right.
What does that look like? Break that
Right.
down.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I said all that to say, Measurement is just the one step of it, but to your
Yeah.
point around, you have to do something with the data. You have to create action with the data, and then you
Yes.
have to break the data down, because you just
Yeah.
measuring it and doing nothing with it is it's irrelevant, y'all.
It's so funny that you said that because I've been doing some writing, and one of the things that I wrote yesterday was, obviously, having vision is one of the greatest things we can have. You have the vision, so we might have the goal that we want to work towards, but do we know how are we actually going to? I like that you said action. Do we know the
Mhm.
action steps that we need to take? It's so funny because when we were younger, I couldn't stand smart goals, and then
Really?
as an adult, girl, I have some issues. Just know. I think I'm living life reverse now. I'm Benjamin Button in my understanding, because now everything I just used to not appreciate, I'll say it like that.
Mhm.
Things that I didn't appreciate because I am kind of more on the like creative, like I just want to
Mhm.
create. But I thank God that He's like literally opened up this layer of my mind that's like,
Mhm.
oh no, I actually like organization. I like structure. I like systems. I didn't think I like systems. I really like systems. That's biblical. Um, but going back to what we were saying, I'm learning that the very things that I didn't appreciate or take advantage of are the things that are
Mhm.
edifying me and making me
Mhm.
better within this walk, especially as an entrepreneur. And the tracking and the measuring, I had it's funny, when I told you I went and did those heels earlier,
Mhm.
I had made a video, and in the video I said I have a goal,
Mhm.
but I need to be able to know what steps do I need to take. And the way that I've learned how to, I guess, establish my goals and my planning behind it is
Mhm.
I figure out what's the finish line. What's
Mhm.
that finish line? And then I've learned to track backwards. This is the
Mhm.
finish line. Now, what steps are necessary as I'm trying to get to that finish line? And am I measuring my progress? I also said something about how I think that we avoid tests when test is pretty
Mhm.
much like measuring.
Mhm.
We avoid these things because we don't realize that those things actually help us.
Mhm.
Sorry, it's a little gnat that flew around me and threw me off. But yeah, I was just talking about the beauty of understanding where you are. So I
Mhm.
used to be able to run 10 miles. I used to be able to run
Mhm.
5 miles. Right? I'm not there anymore. I'm not there anymore. My stomach has let me know we're not there anymore. My shoulders, when I'm slunching as I'm running, we're not there anymore. But I said the beauty of being able to start is measuring where I am. So today, when I
Mhm.
went and I did those heels, I said, we're going to measure where we are. So as I prepare to get back to building that stamina for 5 miles,
Mhm.
possibly at some point 10, I got to see where I am now so I can
Mhm.
understand what is necessary in order for me to get to where I'm trying to go.
Mhm.
That was long winded,
That's that baseline. And
but
you
I
should
felt it.
always start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
So, from a business perspective, if that's the you looking at what you want by the end of the month or the end of the quarter or the end of the
Yeah.
year, I understand everyone has different. I will say I'm the type of person, I believe you have to find what works for you.
That's
So,
good.
like, naturally, my process is always year, quarter, month. But I understand some people, when they're just starting, they can't go that far. So, if for
Yeah.
you, that's what you want to make by the end of the month, you always start with the end in mind, identify what that baseline is, and then you create that plan.
I wish I had a you earlier in life who could have told me where I needed to be now. Because, again, remember when I said I had that scarcity mindset? I was
Mhm.
so limited. And
Mhm.
I was that person that didn't like, I didn't like to plan years in advance, right? Because I
Mhm.
had this fear as well. I had fear that followed me quite a bit of
Mhm.
my life. And I had this fear that why would I plan a year or two from now when I don't even know if
Mhm.
I'm going to be here? That was the thought that I
Mhm.
had. And I
Mhm.
thank God that he helped me reshape my mind from having that kind
Mhm.
of perspective, because once I shifted, I was able to start seeing how he was telling me I need you to plan. Like, not just
Mhm.
planning for the month, but planning. I love how you said planning, starting with the year, then the quarters,
Mhm.
and then the months. I love that because I had been designing a Trello board for one of my clients,
Mhm.
and I was saying like, we need to start off with what is our goal for the year?
Mhm.
What are our goals, and then breaking that down into, different, obviously the quarters, the months, and
Mhm.
all of that, breaking it down. But this is not how I was thinking years ago. I just started coming into this revelation, or this understanding.
Mhm.
I would say within the last 2 years, I'm really just learning as I go.
Mhm.
And I kid you not, it's really the Holy Spirit, because
Mhm.
half of me be like, "That's a great idea. Why didn't I think of it myself?" I be in meetings, I will, and I'll say something to someone, and like you said earlier, they'll be like, "Great job, Marissa,
Mhm.
Dr. Marissa." Half the time, I'll be like, mind blown, like, "Yeah, I didn't even know I was gonna say that. That is a great idea." Oh,
Mhm.
all right.
Mhm. To me, that's an indicator that you're walking in purpose and you're
Yeah,
aligned, because you're so intertwined with God that it's like he speaks through you without you having to be in, like sometimes people say you have to get in a posture. Like a
yeah,
lot of times in church we hear that. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but I'm saying if we truly say God walks with us, he lives
yeah,
through us, there shouldn't have to be a transformation or a moment where I have to say, "Oh, let me step away." And no, like
right,
instantly, I can just
right.
tap into him because I truly walk with him. I spend time with him.
That's good.
He is my best friend. He's my
Yep.
confidant. He's my business partner. Whatever that is for you, that's who
Yes.
he is. And he should just naturally show up. And I feel that you're in your calling when he just naturally shows up and things
Yes.
happen that you can't explain. You say things, you do things. That to me, that's how you know.
I definitely agree with you, because when I was working at the job that I was at, for 8 years, not that I know that God had me there intentionally. It's similar to what you had told me earlier about where you started versus the
Mm-hmm.
journey of where you are now. Where I was doing business consultant, and I was consulting businesses on getting government contracts. And
Mm-hmm.
so I learned the foundation of getting contracts, and I was kind of intrigued by it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there were other things on the side that I had just more interest in. Like, I was very interested in building up a brand of a company, but that was not my
Mm-hmm.
job, so I did not do that, or unless I did on the side. I was interested in creating like websites, create everything
Mm-hmm.
that kind of communicates how a brand is showing up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I enjoyed, and so as I'm working the job, I found myself doing what I call these passion projects.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I just did it because I loved it. So when God started propelling me fully into starting a business, I'm realizing at the time, I was like, man, I gotta try to figure out pricing for this. I have to try to figure
Mm-hmm.
out what I'm realizing is I had to try to figure out stuff initially, and I was guessing. I was playing a very much a good guessing game. I would throw prices out there just to see. I didn't have the education behind it, as far as like
Mm-hmm.
actually seeing how much does it cost to provide this service with my time, with my labor, with my expenses. How much does it cost?
Mm-hmm.
And now, again, I'm realizing that this is definitely my calling, because it comes so natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
And God is literally, he's blowing my mind with the ways that he shows up in conversation.
Mm-hmm.
The contracts that I have now, honestly, I have no idea how I got them outside of God. There was no way I could have these opportunities and say I did it, because I did it.
Mm-hmm.
All I did was I would hear him in the meetings. I would say what I was hearing, and there was also kind of like this fear, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying these things and I believe these things,
Mm-hmm.
but am I going to be able to live up to what I just said? So I want to know, in your walk,
Mm-hmm.
had you ever had any of those moments where he was speaking through you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had to live in what he said, what he was saying through you?
Um, yes, but for me it's never been a fear thing. And it
Mhm.
it could also be because I started experiencing that later in my journey. So
Uh-huh.
one of the things that I had to have a come to Jesus moment with, this was 2018, 2019. God spoke to me and said, "You have all of this. You've got this success. You've got these accolades. You've got XYZ, and you done did this on your own." So it was like God gave me the business. I was like, okay, I got it. And started doing all this
Mm,
stuff.
mm,
And God said, you've done all of this on your own. Like you've been trying to make sure that you maintain control. Imagine what would happen if you just truly let go and let me take
mm.
control.
Wow.
And then that's when I realized I was being what I call a fake faither. And I
Mm,
was trusting God. I felt like because He gave me the business, I moved forward with the business. Obviously, I'm this amazing woman of faith, right?
yeah.
But that's not true because how can I say that when, yes, I acted, but I wasn't continuing to trust Him fully? I was like,
That's good.
okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm gonna make sure I have this on the side, or I'm gonna do
Mm,
this, but I'm only gonna do it if these five things line up. That's not faith.
right.
So I say that to say, for me, it was a little different because I started not really being someone that was operating fully in faith.
Yeah.
And then once I went through my journey and I had my ups and downs, and I realized trusting God actually works, at that point I was like, well, clearly he got it because I don't. So so if he said it, it's gonna work. I don't know how it's gonna work, but I had went through all the Marissa's in control, and
Yeah, that's good.
that was, it was nice, but it wasn't where he could take me. So
Yeah.
then once I let him take control, I meant it and I did. And I remember I had to move back in with my parents. I went through a season and everything just kind of went in the dumps. Like I hit my
Yeah.
low as an adult.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, once I get back up, I ain't never, he got it. So it was funny, even with this transition, like I found myself being a different version of me because I'm naturally
Mm,
a planner. And
yeah.
I found myself being like, well, I mean, I don't really know. Like people would ask, like, so, like my therapist, for example, what's your goals for the year? And I was like, well, I have goals, but I don't know what's gonna happen. But this is what I'm working towards. But also,
Mm.
if it doesn't happen, that's okay. Like I was so, because it was like
Ah,
I felt like something was gonna happen. Like I felt
yeah.
like God was about to transition and pivot me, but I didn't know what it was, but I
Right.
fully trusted him. So
Yeah.
it's like it even caused me to like become something I wasn't, because I was
That's
like,
good.
I am a planner, but I know that this is in God's hands. So
That's
whatever you
good.
want to do, you got it. I got my little vision board or whatever. I got my little action steps, but we can throw it all away if you need
Yeah.
to. So it was just, it was different. Once I started like living in it, I had been through so much at that point that I was like, we here. We good.
Yeah. What would your advice be to a person that has feels as if they have been set back? Because what I heard from you is if it almost it could be perceived as a setback to have to move back with your parents and just
Mhm.
all the things that you experience. What advice would you give to someone who feels like they're currently in a state of being set back and they're not
Mhm.
necessarily where they imagined God would have them?
So first and foremost, it gets better. So I would just want to encourage them. It does get better. You have to find your voice. So, whatever that voice is for you that encourages you, speaks life into you, motivates you. For me, it was my dad. And
Mm,
I always say, my dad and then the two pastors that I listened to at the time saved my life
yeah.
because I would be so in the dump, so depressed, so this is not going to get better, and instantly, of me feeling that, my dad would just walk downstairs and speak life into me.
Oh wow.
So you have to have someone, and it may not be a parent, it may be a friend. I know I have some friends that they don't say it, but I know I'm that because literally they'll call me and you hear it. And instantly something just tells me, speak life into them. And I just start. So it may be a friend, it may be a sorority sister, it may be a mentor, a coach. I don't know, whoever it is, but you need that person that's going to speak life into you. That's one. You also have to remember your why. So I will say
That's good.
one thing that never changed is I had a why.
Mm.
And I knew I was doing that for a reason. And I knew, regardless of opportunities that presented themselves, regardless of what I felt I needed in that moment, I was focused on the why. I did have an advantage because, of course, I was living with my parents. So
Yeah.
it's like, I don't have kids yet. So I don't know those pressures. I'll be honest. I don't know how it feels to lose everything when you got somebody that needs you. I just have my little dog, and he ain't that expensive. But
I got my
I
little
will
dog
say,
too.
I will say I don't know that pressure, but I don't think that changes the principle. I do
Yeah.
think it's still, and actually, your why probably changes when you have
Yeah.
kids. So it's just remembering your why, finding your voice, and then also staying true to your core. A lot
Yeah.
of times, if you're in that, it's because you're following God or you're trusting God. So that's your core, that's your center. Whatever it may be, a pastor. I know for me, elevation worship, I got real, like, I don't know how. I actually need to think about, because now that's my church. I need to think about how I found them. I found them in that season
Uh-huh.
through a worship song, but literally that album that they had with Maverick City, I would
Uh-huh.
just listen to it. And I remember like literally driving my car and like doing my steering wheel like I was like, I'm done. And I just kept doing my steering wheel like I was gonna drive over the road, and
Mm.
Gyra came on. I don't know if you have heard Gyra with
Yeah.
Maverick City and Elevation, but it was just like crazy to me because it was talking about just how, if God does all of this for trees and for birds, like
Yes.
imagine. And I just knew, like, it spoke to me. Like, I knew God got me. So that was a long winded way to say you have to find things that speak to you and also know what you're ingesting. Like for me, I went through seasons where I just knew I have to just listen to all Christian, all
Yeah.
inspirational, all faith based. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even touch other stuff. So
Yeah.
it's also going back to what we said earlier about that awareness piece, knowing yourself and knowing what you need. So in that season, you can feed your spirit.
That's good. I definitely relate to you on that. Last year, I would say last year was 20. What was last year? 2025.
25.
Whew, I be getting the years mixed up. I think it was last year. Don't quote me. It was one of these years, 2024 or 2025. Yeah, it was last year. So last year, we are maybe like 6 or 7 months into quitting the job. Now, I've already told you I didn't necessarily have systems. I was building a plane while trying to fly it. That's
Mhm,
where I was at. And as this was happening, I went through what I would say was one of the hardest seasons of my life.
mhm,
I had been so used to having a salary job to where I never had any bills that were like late. I
mhm,
never had credit cards calling me. It was not an experience that I had. I didn't
mhm,
when I had the salary job, I didn't necessarily have to ask for help from my parents because
mhm,
I had money, right?
mhm,
And so I got into this place where my savings was gone,
mhm,
my the bills were calling, and
mhm,
it was so much happening. And I was honestly afraid that I was going to end up losing my house because my mortgage was behind.
mhm,
And I was just like, Lord, did I mishear you? Did I do the wrong
mhm,
thing? Because I'm pretty sure you told me that I was supposed to quit my job. I was listening. I spent 8 years
mhm,
waiting. And so I'm in this place where it literally I was so sad. I remember I cried 7 days straight. I was just down in the dumps, and people kept asking me like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
mhm,
And I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of mad because I was like, "Yo, like, Lord, this is ghetto. I thought we was gonna be booked and busy, busy and in butt." And things had slowed down. It was a rough time, but as I continued to go through it, there was this breaking point that I experienced. I'll never forget it. I always talk about it. It was literally like day 7 of all of my crying. I'm not usually a
mhm,
crier, but this week I was going in. I couldn't help it. And so on day 7, I remember I had like a Job experience where I was on the couch and I was talking to a friend, and my friend,
mhm,
usually when people call, I'm like super excited. Hey, how you doing? And my friend had called and he was like, Ashley, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm not okay. And
Mhm.
it's like I couldn't even put a mask on. I was like, no, I'm not okay.
Mhm.
And I don't know if he thought I was like kind of like joking initially because he didn't it didn't click to him like, oh, she's not okay. So we
Mhm.
kept talking a little bit, and then I started being very blunt. I was like, I'm not okay. I don't want to talk about whatever it is we talking about. I gotta get off this phone because
Mhm.
I'm about to lose it. It would, and so I get off the phone with him and I call my pastor and I'm like, Pastor, at that point I started breaking down crying. I'm like, Pastor, I'm drowning. I have all these bills. I don't know how I'm gonna pay them and all of this stuff. And so I remember my pastor, he had said to me, he said, give me, I think he said, give me either 2 days or give me 3 days. He
Mhm.
said, how much do you need? Give me 2 days, give me one of those amounts.
Mhm.
I said, okay. So I get off the phone with him. I instantly start bawling my eyes out. This is like
Mhm.
a cry that's been loading for this entire time, this month or two that I'm like really struggling. And so I'm crying my eyes out. And I remember I got on the ground, I took my jacket off like Job. It was kind of like I really feel like Job. And I'm crying, and it's an ugly cry. And so as I'm crying on the ground, I remember I was kind of screaming and I'm like,
Mhm.
what did I do? And it was this one moment. I think I'm a little dramatic because even in my crying, it felt dramatic. It felt like in scene. I finish up. I take a moment. I pause and I said, I refuse to lose. I
Mhm.
refuse to give up. I refuse not to have faith. I
Mhm.
refuse. And it was in that moment when I heard God say, now that you've reached the ending of you, now you can
Mhm.
watch me work.
Mhm.
Before this, nothing seemed to be working out. It felt like I was just taking pointless meetings and encounters. It just felt like so much hassle.
Mhm.
On this very night, I remember I said to God, I said, from here on out, faith talk. I said,
Mhm.
anybody that's around me, if they're not speaking the word of truth
Mhm.
to me, don't talk to me because I'm only
Mhm.
talking by faith. And so I remember my prayers even started to alter in that moment because I
Mhm.
remember I said, I'll only pray the scriptures over my life. I won't pray my
Mhm.
opinion. I won't pray what I want. I'm going to pray what he says. And I said, Lord,
Mhm.
I'm going to hold you accountable to your word because you're going to watch over it. Right. And
Mhm.
so it was like in this moment I went from being shattered and broken to
Mhm.
confident and believing like, oh no, he said he gonna do what he gonna do. I don't have to
Mhm.
do nothing else anymore. And I kid you not, that was a pivotal moment in my life because things literally shifted. Like, and
Mhm.
I mean shifted quick. The
Yeah.
conversations I was having that was leading nowhere started actually leading somewhere. I ended
Mhm.
up securing 2 contracts right after that. And
Mhm.
and I remember I said, I refuse to get back to this place that I'm at. I
Mhm.
will no longer go back to that space ever again. And then God
Mhm.
also had to show me the beauty of being in that space because he said, he showed me that the people that I'm called to minister to, I had to be able to see where they were, see where
Mhm.
they are, see what their mindset is,
Mhm.
understand exactly hands on, like this is where they are. And as he walks me out of it, I literally start building the blueprint of being able to show them how he got me through it. And so the
Mhm.
mindset that I know I'm called to serve, that scarcity mindset, I know I'm called to
Mhm.
that because that's what I walked in. That not being able to trust God fully, everything that
Mhm.
I experienced in that season, God started showing me as I bring you out of it, it's gonna be other people I'm gonna send to you that experience that same thing, but they just don't have
Mhm.
hope. The way you didn't give up, I need you to help them not give up.
Mhm.
I feel like we both didn't said that was a long answer, but hearing you say that you had your people, the pastor, the
Mhm.
song, your dad, hearing that, I
Mhm.
felt that because I literally had to close out anything that wasn't speaking faith because I
Mhm.
knew he was gonna do something, even though
Mhm.
it was depressing. Now at first, it was deep,
Mhm.
dark, and
Yeah.
depressing.
But even if you think about it, a lot of times God does use people.
Right.
So that's why community is so
That's good.
important in the Bible because he
Yeah.
uses people. And a lot of times, what happens is when we go through things like that, the enemy tries to make us feel that we're isolated. And I'm
Right.
not saying that you don't necessarily go through a season of isolation,
Yeah.
but community is important. Your people are important. I call them purpose pushers. Whoever
Yes.
those people are that's pushing you to your purpose, they are important
Yes.
because God will use them in your lowest moments for Him to reveal whatever it is that He needs you to see, to
Yes.
encourage you, to uplift you, to be a resource, whatever it is. A lot of times He's going to use a person.
Yes. So we're getting close to the end, and I have one question I love to ask
Mhm.
every single guest. And that question is, because this show is all about mindset, considering where we are right now and where you would want us to be, what is the mindset shift that happens in between?
Well, this may not be my answer per se, but this has been sitting with me for a minute.
Okay.
So I'm gonna share it because you had shared a few things around just the scarcity mindset, the trust in God. And there was one thing that I got really frustrated. It was a time when I was living with my parents, things was picking back up. And
Mm-hmm.
I got really frustrated because literally there was no increase. Whatever I asked for, God gave me. And I'm just like, bro, I'm sitting up here doing everything that I am supposed to do, everything that you tell me to do, and you ain't giving me no type of increase. Like to the penny, you giving
Yeah.
me the bare minimum that I need.
Mm.
And God said, I'm giving you what you need because you're afraid to ask for what you truly desire. And I realized he was right because you know what I was doing? I was taking my bills, I added them together. I said,
Yes.
okay, this
Come on.
That's what I need so my car don't get repossessed. This what I need so I can do this. This what I need for insurance. Like, okay,
Yes.
Lord, please get this one client to book me for this workshop. Get that
Yes.
one company to call me back. Get me to book this webinar. Like, literally, but to the penny. I was
Yes.
asking for whatever my dollar amount was. So again, scarcity mindset and me putting a capacity on what God could do. And
Yes.
going back to what you said about biblically, we are inheritors of his kingdom, which
Yes.
means we are naturally blessed. And it's not about manifesting it, it's truly just walking in it. So, the mindset shift that I would encourage
Come
people
on.
is one, you are a child of God, you inherit whatever comes with being a child of
Yes.
God, which is his riches. What that means is if you are in his will, so I'm not saying if you're out of will,
Come on.
but if you are in his will, he will not only provide, he will supersede whatever it is that your
That's good.
heart desires. So do not be afraid to ask for what it is that your heart desires. And I'm gonna end with this one more thing, because I do think it's important for us to remember that Jesus is a servant. So what
Yeah.
I've told people, I knew I never had any doubt in my mind that I would be financially blessed,
Come
because
on.
anytime you ask me why I want money, or even as a kid, if you ask me why I wanted to be rich, my answer always had to do with people. And
Yes.
it was funny. My first therapist, I will never forget, because she was actually helping me work the scarcity mindset. And she was talking about how I don't think about giving to myself. And she asked me what I would do if I won the lottery. She
Mm-hmm.
said it took me 7 times until I got to doing something for myself. And the
Oh
thing
wow.
for myself was paying off my student loans. So
Mm.
even that wasn't something like extravagant. But I
Yeah.
say that to say, a part of us still being God, a part of God's children being his kingdom and his inheritance is living like him, which
Yes.
means we got to remember God is a servant, leadership is a service, our
Yes.
business is a gift. So,
Yes.
all of those need to be a part of that mindset while you are asking God for the desires of your hearts.
I love that you said God was a servant. We should mirror being a servant, and also that our business is a gift. That's a topic that has been reoccurring in my brain, is understanding that nothing that we have is truly ours. It's something that he's
Mhm.
given us, and how do I steward it well and give it back to him? So on Sunday I had shared with our congregation, I said, you know, the gifts that you have, the talents that you have, everything that you have is his. Give it back to him.
Mhm.
And I think that that has been one of the things that helps me with
Mhm.
in the business. Like obviously I don't know everything. I'm still learning stuff, but I give it right back to him. It's his.
Mhm.
I even with like the podcast, I pray over the podcast. I pray
Mhm.
over who's gonna be, who's gonna be on the episodes. I
Mhm.
intentionally am like, God, I want this to be yours. I don't want it to be mine, because the
Mhm.
moment I put me on it, it's gonna be raggedy. Call it trashly. But when I put you on it, I love to say when I put his super on my natural, it becomes
Mhm.
supernatural. I love
Mhm.
watching God work when I just give it over to him. And so what
Mhm.
you said, I think is just so important for us to remember that it's not ours. It doesn't belong to
Mhm.
us. And so instead of us trying to lead ourselves and how it should look, how it should go, let's go to the one that created, who literally created it, created the plan for us and all of that,
Mhm.
and allow him to instruct us on this journey.
Mhm. He won't lead you wrong.
That part, I'll lead me wrong, but he won't. We had some comments that came in that I wanted to make sure I hit. One of the comments said, "Hey, ladies, we have to be more busy and savvy. Look for ways to cut back and invest." Great word.
Mhm.
And then, oh, it said business savvy. They had a typo. And then another comment said, "Yes, revenue and profit are so different. We hear all the time about businesses, but then hear that they're going out of business or going bankrupt." And
Mhm.
then another comment says, "These tools, these are the tools that go beyond just praying and believing to God for us. We have to
Mhm.
count up the cost and do our part too. Thank God for
Mhm.
these gems." I actually want to say something on that comment because I agree with that. Um, there's a scripture that I love, and I believe that we don't always apply it correctly. I love when God says, "Faith without works is dead." So I want to ask you, when
Mhm.
you hear this scripture, what does that mean to you?
This may be elementary, but it means do the work.
Period.
It I struggle with I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm not religious. I have a great relationship with God, but I'm
Uh-huh.
not like the super,
Hmm.
and I really struggle with people who I actually had one client like this for a while. It was not a good fit. But who are always like, I'll give them action steps at the end of the call. Oh, I need to pray about it. Oh, I need to. If you initially prayed about working with a coach, God
Hmm.
led you to me, you're trusting me, we prayed before the call,
Yep.
eventually that prayer needs to turn into you doing some work.
Yeah.
And we can't substitute prayer for strategy. They can work hand in hand, but we can't substitute it. So
Yeah.
to me, that scripture is evidence biblically that
Yeah.
you have to do something with whatever God said. And I think sometimes we forget God gave us wisdom for a reason.
Right.
Like we have wisdom to use it. Like we have knowledge to use it. We have resources. Again, God gives you people for a reason. So when those things
Yeah.
happen, you got to do something with it.
Yeah. I also think, piggybacking off of what you said, I also think that accountability is something we, kind of shy away from. Because when I heard you say that I gotta pray on it, I think that sometimes we can use that as a way of escaping accountability. And I
Mhm.
say that with experience, exposing myself again, because when I initially quit the job, I did have another coach. Now, given I did have to come to the understanding that every coach is not for me,
Mhm.
and I'm not for every coach.
Mhm.
Um, but something I realized is that after I finished working with them, because I was like, yeah, no, this ain't gonna work, God. I think it was for a season and for a reason. But something that I realized is that I had made a lot of excuses. I just
Mhm.
didn't have. I have this book on my desk to keep me grounded. Oh, it's called Time Management, and I realized that I made so many excuses in the process. I was thinking that, oh, this person has all these high expectations of me, but really, I just wasn't prioritizing what needed to get done. And so,
Mhm.
and because again, I had fear for so long. I had
Mhm.
fear that I was not capable of delivering the expectations that were placed
Mhm.
on me. And when I ended up leaving, I ended up once I got past all these crazy things, I ended up starting to execute on the things that I didn't think I was capable of. But going back to what I said, like when you give the gift back to God, he can do any and all things with the gift.
Mhm.
When I One thing I have to be careful of is I try not to say, and before I say this, this is my own disclaimer. This is for me. This is not for
Mhm.
anybody else. I'm not telling anybody else not to do this. This is just for me. I try not to put I on the gift, because the moment I put I or my on the gift, that's when
Mhm.
I can go into this mindset of limiting God. Like for
Mhm.
instance, I had got someone reached out to me about potentially doing kind of like a TV show. I'll just say that.
Mhm.
I'm trying to find the best words to say what I'm saying. A TV show. And initially I was like, "Whoo, I know I do videography, but I don't know if I'm there." you know but I felt the Holy Spirit tell me, just go into the conversation. I go into
Mhm.
the conversation, and i I do what I do best. I let God
Mhm.
do the talking. And he was giving me ideas on, just different things that we can actually implement. And then a whole plan, I'm be honest, a proposal started writing in my mind. I was like, oh, all I got to do is go and buy this equipment. Da, 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 da.
Mhm.
And I realized if I would have just left it to Ashley, like, oh, Ashley doesn't think
Mhm.
she can do this, I probably would have turned him down. But when I
Mhm.
realized that if it's God's will, it's his bill. If it's God's will,
Mhm.
he'll guide me through it. If it's God's will,
Mhm.
he'll show me step by step.
Mhm.
I stopped limiting him. And even now, the way that I see obedience as step by step.
Mhm.
Because when I think about when God commanded Abraham, when he said, go to a land, go leave your
Mhm.
family and go to a new land. I'm paraphrasing. When he said this, he only gave him one step.
Mhm.
And Abraham followed that one step. It,
Mhm.
it was literally, once he followed one thing, he could give him another thing, another
Mhm.
thing, another thing. And that's how I see obedience. I think instead of us being afraid to
Mhm.
do whatever it is that God is telling us to do, if he's called you to do it, take
Mhm.
the initial step, because maybe he's teaching you on the journey just through you being obedient.
I love that. And it's so crazy because we grow up saying the Lord's Prayer, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think we really realize what we say because we
Right.
literally ask for daily bread.
Yes.
We don't
Yes.
ask for a week's worth. We don't ask for a
Yeah.
month's worth. We're not like, well, let me make sure I can eat for the quarter.
Yes.
It's daily.
That's
And if
good.
that's really what we are asking God for, that means as long as I got what I need for today, I'm good. Now, I'm
That's
not
good.
saying don't plan. I'm not saying don't create your strategy, don't do your action steps. What I am saying is don't stress about the future because
Right.
at the end of the day, it's out of your control. The number of times, and like I said, I'm a planner. I literally get paid to create strategies, and I have for a decade. And when I tell y'all, the number of times I've created a strategy for myself and it just gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
But again, it's just being open because, like you
Yeah.
said, it's his business, it's his path, it's his plan. You use your wisdom, and he did give me the
Yes.
gift of strategy, so I use that. But I'm still
Yes.
open. I'm open to
Yeah.
letting him move.
That's good. We had some comments on Facebook that I missed, so I'm gonna just go through a few of those comments.
Okay.
We had someone say, yes, very intentional. We had someone else say, go forth in Jesus' name. We had someone else say, Ash always saying everything she does in part by the Holy Spirit. That is true, because I don't want to do nothing on my own. Another one says, getting prepared and being prepared are two different things. That's
Mhm.
good. I like
Mhm.
that. Another comment says, yes, maturity. And then another comment says, I really seen you start from the bottom. Now you're here. You're doing an amazing job, Ash. Oh, don't make me cry.
Aw.
I need that. Another comment says, I'm more motivated for the Confidence Foundation. So, my first lady, she started a nonprofit called the
Mhm.
Confidence Foundation.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna be honest, this is a kind of a side note, y'all, but I want to say this. I watched her say no to God for herself for
Mhm.
so long. She
Mhm.
was so in I would say so ingrained in serving God and helping people, helping the
Mhm.
vision that God has given people, that at one point she was neglecting the vision that God was giving her. And so I
Mhm.
remember we talked at the beginning of this year, and we both said, I'm gonna say yes to God and how He
Mhm.
wants me to deliver and show up in this year. And I've
Mhm.
been watching her dedication to saying yes, and I'm watching
Mhm.
God open doors. I'm watching, things that we've talked about come into literally reality, being
Mhm.
tangible. I'm watching the vision come to life, and the reason why I mention that is because I'm thinking about two things. I'm thinking about one, when
Mhm.
you had mentioned how you were more focused on other people than yourself. And the other reason, I believe that somebody needs to hear this, that are you saying yes to God's vision for your life? I'm not telling you don't serve and help other people, not at all. But what I am saying is, are you fulfilling the assignment that He has created intentionally
Mhm.
for your life? Because sometimes we can be delaying our assignment because we're focused on someone else's.
Mhm.
And to add to that, it could be because it's so easy to show up for somebody else than to commit to the vision that God has given me. I'll delay it. So for
Mhm.
anybody that's listening, if you needed to hear that, I just want to encourage you. Are you saying yes to the vision that God has specifically said for you? Have you written the book? Have you built the website? Have you built the brand? Are you operating in a business, or are you
Mhm.
allowing it to continue to go dormant?
Mhm.
Leave that
That's
there.
good.
So, my sister, I do want to ask you, this is kind of more of like a free question.
Mhm.
I like to always leave a moment for my speaker to share anything that is lasting on their heart. And so, this is the
Mhm.
moment where I just want to invite you, if there's anything else that you want to share with us on tonight, now's the time.
The only thing I would say is just find God for yourself.
Mm,
I think a lot of times, in Black households, we're told, um, to be a Christian, this is what it looks like. And I was always a Christian. I was
mm,
always in church. I was always this, I was always that. I was a PK. But it wasn't until I really found God for myself that
yes,
things shifted in my life.
that's
And the
good.
more that I have continued to find Him and mature spiritually,
Yeah,
the more He has just blew my mind. So
yeah,
I say that to say all we talked about is important. But if I could leave you with something, because y'all know that's how I started off, I said, I'm a woman of God and a woman of
yes.
faith first. I would have to leave you with something spiritually, and that would be find God for yourself and build that relationship, protect that relationship, and use that relationship to guide you through everything you do in life and your business.
I think that that is a beautiful note to end it on, specifically because I had to find my relationship with God. I had heard
Mhm.
about God through my grandparents. I attended church when I was growing up, but I didn't know God. It was like I'm hearing about this God that exists, but I don't know him personally. And it wasn't until I literally got to know God on a personal basis, studying His Word for myself,
Mhm.
and even my prayers, like just I love how you mentioned God's your best friend. That's how I feel. This is
Mhm.
my best friend. I just be having random conversations out of nowhere, but I know he listening because he the only person
Yeah.
that's gonna listen for real to me. Um, but having that relationship is so vital because no one else's relationship can get you into heaven. You gotta
Mhm.
have it for yourself, and you have to trust that what he tells you is what he tells you. Because there have been some situations in my life where people had good intentions, like going
Mhm.
back to me quitting my job. People had good
Mhm.
intentions, but sometimes they can project their insecurities or project
Mhm.
their fears, and their fears could hinder us from being able to actually be obedient to what God has said.
Mhm.
What if, going back to Abraham, what if Abraham's dad was like, "Whoa, whoa, where you going? Don't leave." Now, will we have the father of faith if
Mhm.
he would have listened to somebody else, but yet he trusted God? And I think even that example, Noah, Moses, I
Mhm.
can go on and on, is a great example of what you just said.
Mhm.
Have a relationship with God for yourself.
Mhm.
I'm gonna start adding some sound effects on here because I need some. Yeah, that was a good answer. That was a good answer. Well, I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart that I'm so grateful to be been able to have this time with you, even just to learn from you. I knew you were an amazing woman from the first conversation we had behind the scenes. I knew it. I was like, this lady is awesome. And then the fact that you travel, I'm like, I'm gonna be like her when I grow up. But yeah, you are such an amazing woman of God. You are an amazing business strategist. You are obviously you're the stake. You top tier, and just to be able to say, "Hey, I sat with the Dr. Marissa." I'm grateful.
Well, this was fun. I appreciate you having me. I love natural conversations, so it was fun.
Why? Thank you. So, guys, for those who are tuning in with us, I just want to say thank you always for tuning in every Tuesday at 7 p.m. This is just the start of what I have for August. I pray to see you guys on the next episode coming up soon. But before we head out, I have one final thing I want to ask Dr. Marissa, and that is where can people connect with you on these internet streets?
So I am on Instagram at dr.dr.layton, Layton underscore. From there, there's links. You can get free resources. You can connect if you want to book a call, shoot me a DM. Whatever it is you need, just reach out. But Instagram is the best way to reach me.
And if you need that information, once this is uploaded, you'll have that information in the description to be able to reach out to Dr. I have to keep saying it, Dr. Marissa. So, guys, with that, that is the end of tonight's episode. I can't wait to see you again in the next conversation. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Peace.